So what did I think about this book? It was pretty good. I liked it. Well, thanks so much for watching this video, and for now, farewell. Hello, friends, family, and fellow bookworms, welcome back. Today, I want to review this book that I just finished reading, Dune by Frank Herbert. This is the first book in a 6-volume series. So, I went into this book with sort of mixed expectations because, on the one hand, it's one of the most popular science fiction books ever written. On the other hand, J.R.R. Tolkien hated it. So I went into this book thinking sort of like, it might be good. It's pretty popular, but I probably won't like it. So what is this book about? So basically, this book takes place on the desert planet Arrakis, 7,000 years from now into the future. And our main character is the boy Paul Atreides, who would become known as Muad'Dib, and of a great family's ambition to bring to fruition humankind's most ancient and unattainable dream. So the first 200 pages of this book I did not like very much. The author really did do a good job of setting up all those things up within the first 200 pages, but it just sort of does throw you right into the middle of things. Things were going by very slowly, and there was a ton of complex names, Gom Jabbar, Muad'Dib, and just a whole bunch of confusing names that really confused me. It just threw you right into the world, It sort of felt like the author was expecting you to know everything about this world, and the first 200 pages were very confusing to me. I hardly knew what was happening. Nothing was really happening, it was very slow-paced. But then, let me just say, things started happening. And after those initial 200 pages, I sped through this book because from that point on, it just hooked me and held me through right to the very end. So the first 200 pages I did not like at all, but thought that the rest of the book was very, very good, and I did enjoy it. It was a very engaging story with a well-thought-out and really a well-structured plot. You can tell that the author, Frank Herbert, put a lot of thought and work into this world that he was creating. There's a ton of fantastic world building. The world building is really complex. You can really tell that there's just so much detail in it. The author put such a lot of hard work into it. And honestly, there were so many confusing names and such that I had to look in the glossary of this book. So I was pretty much spending more time in the glossary of the book than the actual book itself. And there were some times when I just read a confusing name of something in the world, and I was just hooked in the moment in the story, and I was just too lazy to look in the glossary. But when you read the glossary, when you read the appendices, you realize that there really is a lot to this world. The appendices have all this information on the ecology of Arrakis, the desert planet, the religion of Arrakis. It has information on all the former emperors of this galaxy that humankind is now living in, 7,000 years into the future. And it was a very creative story with a lot of good themes in it. So the first 200 pages were very boring, I feel like, and very confusing, but once you get past those initial 200 pages, the rest of the story is amazing. The writing style in this book was very unique, and so this book was originally published in 1965. The writing style, the way it is written, feels very much like how a modern book would be written. It's not written in a very archaic way. It kind of feels like a book that could even be written nowadays, even though it was written over 50 years ago. Although it could be very jarring at times, and the writing style was very unique, but a bit hard to get into, at least for me. It was very jarring because the author would keep on shifting perspectives between characters in every other paragraph. So we would be in the head of the main character Paul, and then a paragraph later would be in the head of his mother Jessica, then 2 paragraphs later would be in the head of another person. So it was a little jarring how the author kept on shifting perspectives in every other paragraph, but he did this surprisingly well, and I just really enjoyed it. And there is a ton of character development as well, the journey that all these characters go on, the things that all these characters learn. It's just so good. All these characters very well fleshed out, a lot of character development. You really feel a lot of connection to these characters. And I really love how when you first see the person who is going to betray them, and like no spoilers here, but when you first meet the traitor, the author makes it immediately obvious that he is the traitor and that he is going to betray them. And I really liked that he made it apparent within like the first 20 or so pages who the traitor of all the good guys was going to be, because you could see him like beginning to manipulate people, and beginning to subtly sow seeds of evil. And so I really loved how the author made it obvious who was going to betray them. So you can see like the seeds of discord that he is slowly and subtly sowing, leading up to his ultimate betrayal of them. I got very attached to a lot of the characters, and whenever a new character comes in, I was like, do I really trust this person? Like, some characters I felt conflicted on, some characters I liked, some characters I did not like. The characters are just so well fleshed out to the point where they almost feel like real people who you actually know. So I did overall enjoy this book, except for the first 200 pages, but I feel like this is one of those books where you will get an even better experience when you reread it, so I will reread this book sometime. I'm sure that'll be a better experience for me, like, knowing, having read this book before, and knowing what the author is setting up in the beginning. I may enjoy those first 200 pages more whenever I reread this book in a year or two, probably more. Although I did have a couple problems with the ending as well, nothing like major, but there's just some stuff that I didn't like about the ending. So the ending was very abrupt and sudden, like the final conflict literally took place within the last like 10 pages of this book. The ending I feel like was very sudden, and it was satisfying in a way, but also at the same time not satisfying, and you're left with a lot of unanswered questions. But of course, this book is just part of a series, so who knows, those questions might be answered later, but I feel like some of the stuff that the author set up in this book, that when you read it, you instantly feel like that stuff is going to be resolved within this first book, and some of it isn't. The ending was a little bit confusing, and I had to, think it over. The ending was just a little rushed, and a little sudden, and a little jarring. It was like, oh, that was intense. Oh, now I guess it's over. So yeah, I did have a few problems with the ending, but again, this is just the first book in a series, so I'm assuming a lot of those questions will be answered in a lot of the later books of the series. So at the end of the day, I do very much like this book, but there were some aspects of it that I did not like. I can definitely see why it is one of the most popular science fiction novels ever written, but at the same time, I can kind of see why J.R.R. Tolkien disliked this book so much. And in the end, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I'll leave it up to you whether or not you want to read it. If you're a fan at all of science fiction or fantasy or even like fiction in general, then I think you will really enjoy this book. I can see a ton of people who would really enjoy this book. It's one that I would recommend to fans of H.G. Wells, Star Wars, Tolkien even though Tolkien hated it. So I will give it an 8 out of 10. I also loved Paul's character journey so much. He's a character that really intrigues me. I did like him, but I feel kind of conflicted about him, especially near the ending, so I'm looking forward to what goes on with his character in the later books of the series. By the way, don't you just not like it when people on covers of books, when they put on, now a major motion picture? Like, I know, pretty much everyone knows that Dune is now a major motion picture. It's a pretty popular book. I don't need to be told that it's a major motion picture. I don't really see why they even put these things on the covers of books, and I really don't like it when they, just, yeah, I cannot spit out words today. When they just, put a picture of the movie on the cover of the book, why do you have to do that? Can you not let the book be its own thing? But anyway, that's a tangent. Yeah, I was just reading a review on the back of here, and one person, Arthur C. Clarke, right there up at the top, one reviewer said, unique in the depth of its characterization and the extraordinary detail of the world it creates. I can agree. But then he said, I know nothing comparable to it except The Lord of the Rings. Are you mad? This book is good, but come on, The Lord of the Rings is way better. This guy will never live up to Tolkien. And besides, Tolkien hated this book. Why would you compare it to The Lord of the Rings? But that's also a tangent. This book is so floppy. Look at that. So floppy. Look at that. I'm getting the cover kind of bent. I should probably stop with that immediately. Well, thank you so much for watching this video, and for now, farewell. The writing style in this book, anyway,